Fuck it. Horrors of the Chinese internet.
The story of musician Joyce Chu is not too different than that.
So I swear, if there's a jump scare in this fucking video, bro.
Of most other pop singer-songwriters in the last 20 years. She began uploading videos to YouTube while she was in school and was eventually noticed by a record producer known as Namewee, who then promptly signed her to his label Red People. Namewee began working with Chu to build up her career and turn her into the next big Mandarin language pop star. They began by releasing
making like a K-pop but for Chinese, C-pop, I guess.
The song Malaysia Cabor, which would be an instant hit in Joyce's native country, Malaysia. But it wasn't until mid-2015 when Joyce Chu would truly become an internationally recognized pop star among the greater Chinese diaspora, which happened when she released her song.
Yo, I low-key crazy how there's just random people could just pop up in your life and be like, yo, you want to be famous? Boom. Just like that. They do.
I Miss You, which currently has 65 million views on YouTube. On the surface, this song and video seems pretty standard fare for Chinese pop music. The song consists of Chu singing a catchy melody over the sounds of her ukulele, which the video depicts her playing in many different locations around South and East Asia. But while this video may seem sunny, positive, and lighthearted, there's a disturbing secret hiding in one of these scenes. When looking at the comments on this video, you'll notice that despite the general popularity of this song, most commenters seem to be talking about something completely unrelated to the music.
Oh my god, I'm freaking getting shivers, bro. Nah, I can't watch this video. I can't. I don't even want to tell you. I don't even want to know what's at 142. I do not care. He timing it for 142 too. Come on.
Everybody seems to be pointing out something that happens at 1 minute and 42 seconds into this video. And if we look at the YouTube timeline highlighter,
oh my god,
you'll notice that the most replayed section of the video is that one particular timestamp. Let's see what's going on. Pay close attention to the following clip.
Bro, I swear that's a jump scare, bro. I'm gonna fucking do a backflip, bro.
Did you catch it? Let me play it again.
Bro, her smile is so creepy, bro. What am I looking at? Am I supposed to be seeing something?
In the distant background of this scene, we can see what appears to be a person tumbling off of a building. It's only on screen for a second, but it's also irrefutably clear. This is the shape of a person falling. The fact that this is in a professionally produced pop music video is very strange. It would seem nobody noticed what looks like an act of self-annihilation happening on screen. But while the people involved in making the video might not have noticed, fans definitely did. And after this music video came out, the only discussion about it online seemed to be revolved around this disturbing scene. But as viewers began researching to try to find out what might have been caught on camera here, things only became stranger.
Oh my gosh, bro.
What's up, Cole? It's your best buddy, Farrell. As you know, I'm a huge advocate for data privacy, and I was just Googling your name, and
oh my god, it's an
ad. In America to your behalf information. The worst, that'll be enough. Online sleuths to figure out that this scene was filmed in front of the Red Theater in Taipei, the capital city of Taiwan. But when they started to look for recorded acts of self-destruction,
freaking dog pulled up on me, bro. He freaking pulled up on me, bro. Scared the shit out of me.
That might have happened near this building around the time of the music video was made, researchers came up empty-handed.
There was no gap on the top one. There was no sign of falling at the scene. I said that no fire accident just in her year, and the film should be edited.
Even the Taipei police saying themselves there were no recorded cases that could have happened in that spot. And not only that, you see, when looking at the street view of this area, you'll notice something that really throws a wrench in this story. In the video, after the figure tumbles off the building, it falls in front of this billboard. But while the perspective of the sign in the video might make you think it's attached to the building, the street view shows you that it's actually pretty far in front of it. This means the figure must have fallen off of something else off screen. So
what the heck?
Some people have theorized that this isn't a person at all, and it's merely some other object falling from the sky, and the perspective from the camera merely makes it look like a person. But I don't think this is the case. If you analyze the footage closely, you'll not only
Bro, it literally looks like feet. Like someone jumped off a rail, bro.
see that the
Oof, that thumbnail already got me.
figure is very obviously human shaped, but it also very clearly tumbles off of the building, with its foot hooking a bit on the edge and causing the figure to flip over in midair. But it would be impossible for a person to fall off of the building and pass in front of the hair sign, which can only lead to one conclusion. Namely, Chu's record producer has commented on this controversy.
Oh no, what did he say? What did he say?
He said that he did notice the person falling in an early cut of the video, and he actually went to the Red Theater himself to check the scene in person. He wanted to cut the scene out entirely, thinking it could be bad luck to include something like this in a music video, but ultimately chose to keep it in anyways, for some reason. The only logical conclusion here is that Namewee was doing a little trolling, and that this body falling was CGI that was intentionally added to the video to drum up publicity from the controversy.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it's a fucked up way, but
it's a very strange and arguably disrespectful thing to do, but it's the only way this story makes any sense. This body very obviously couldn't have fallen the way it did in the video in real life. It must have been added in post-production. If you want to make this even darker, start to think about the subject matter of the song itself.
oh my gosh, bro.
Well, the rest
Dude, this girl has the creepiest face I've ever seen in my life, bro.
of the video is upbeat
Like, it's like every time she says, like,
and happy. Actually somewhat matches the same disconnect that exists between the song's cheerful tone with its sad lyrics. I don't think we'll ever get a concrete explanation to what happened here. I don't think Namewee or Joyce Chu will ever come out and admit that they purposely added something like this to a music video, and we can ultimately only speculate why somebody spent their time realistically animating a man falling off a building in this scene. I do think it was just to drum up a buzz in the press, but if you guys have an alternate theory, please let me know.
Alright, I'll give you one thing, man. That girl's just creepy, bro. Shit.
I'd be curious to hear it.
Like if she pulled up on me like this when I'm sleeping, bro, instant die. Yeah, my heart exploded, brain exploding with it. Everything, every organ that keeps me alive, dying that instant, bro.
Ni hao. Welcome to Horrors on the Chinese internet. I've been really wanting to make this video for a long time, but I kept putting it off because the sheer scale of it was a little intimidating. Not only is China just a huge topic in general, possibly the biggest topic if we're just talking about a single country, but it also has some of the most unique relationships with the internet in general. Well, in the past, we've talked about Russia and the Arab world. Those societies use the same internet that we use here in the West. They're using the same platforms we do. Yes. And if they do have their own platforms, like VK in Russia, for example, they still work more or less like their Western equivalents.
I ain't no way. They got their own Facebook? Shit, man.
China, though, has its own internet. That's not an exaggeration. China's made a very conscious effort to isolate its population from the outside internet. Most of the platforms we use here in the West are outright banned in the country. And even when we do use a Chinese social media platform here in the West, China will still maintain a...
Bro, I feel like this is segmenting into an ad. Am I tripping? Ain't no way this does not sound like an ad is coming up.
separate Chinese version of the same platform. Like how Douyin is completely isolated from TikTok despite being almost the exact same app. The explanations behind these sorts of relationships China has with the internet and media in general will be very long and political, and I don't really want to talk to the internet, regular China. Well, the first topic we just discussed was more focused around the Chinese diaspora and not so much people using the internet inside the country of China. The next couple of topics are going to focus on stuff that's happened specifically on Chinese platforms. So without further ado, let's dive a little deeper into the horrors lurking on the Chinese internet.
Okay.
Like we just talked about.
Dude, am I racist? Am I racist, bro? Why does every motherfucker in this video have a creepy face?
China more or less has its own internet complete with its own social media
yes, I'm over.
platforms, some of which have a Western equivalent and some of which don't. For example, Douyin and TikTok are basically the same app. Xiaohongshu, or as you may know it,
Dude, like these girls all look normal, bro. Well, maybe her. Fuck, man, maybe I just be racist, man. I hope not.
Red Node is pretty much the closest thing you can get to Instagram in China, Weibo is a platform that works a lot like Twitter, but for YouTube, there's not really a single Chinese equivalent, at least not one that has the same sort of massive presence YouTube has in the rest of the world. The platform Youku used to work much like YouTube, but in the 2010s, they began to shift away from user-uploaded content, and now they only offer professionally produced TV shows and movies. Youku nowadays is most similar to Hulu in the States. The closest thing you can really get to YouTube nowadays in China is Bilibili. Although, like
oh yeah, everybody love Bilibili.
I said, it doesn't have the same sort of popularity that YouTube has. If we compare Bilibili to Douyin, for example, China's most popular video sharing platform, it has almost 3 times less users.
Damn, bro, WeChat going crazy.
Whereas in the rest of the world, YouTube is almost twice as popular as TikTok. Bilibili in China is seen more as a platform for younger people who are into anime, video games, technology. Imagine if you were to cut out everything except for the more geeky niches out of YouTube.
See, these all look like normal people, bro.
You might end up with something like Bilibili. One thing I haven't mentioned yet is that while the Chinese government may restrict what platforms are available in their own country, you can actually access many Chinese platforms here in the West, although the experiences can be limited in some ways. When you load up Bilibili for the first time, you are indeed greeted with what seems to be a nerdier Chinese version of YouTube. The platform tends to ask you pretty often to log in, which you can actually do in the West if you're willing to give them your phone number, but then you need to solve this CAPTCHA which is completely in Mandarin.
Oh yeah, that's right.
It took me a while to figure out, but you basically just need to put the characters in the right order. I was then given the ability, definitely not asking us to see if anyone else had uploaded to the platform. It's pretty surreal to see bootleg Mandarin versions of my videos getting tens of thousands of views on a platform I hadn't.
That's kind of crazy. The horror on the Chinese internet is his videos. Because he has horrors on the Chinese internet. Now imagine they have like the flip version, which is horrors on the American internet, but it's actually just going over the Chinese.
No idea about. It's not just me either. They even have translated versions of XQC's
Bro, what is this extra yapping, bro? Like, can we get to the cases?
Get up to. You haven't heard.
Alright. I did not need to see that. I'm about to click out that video. I did not need to see that, bro. That was probably the scariest face I've seen in a while. Oh my god. What?
The Uncanny Brothers. They're a series of short-form videos made by Crows Bros on the Western Internet, revolving around 2 uncanny-looking individuals in the slasher movie hijinks they get up to. It's a pretty popular little web series here in the West, and apparently it is in China as well. People have made tutorials on how to do makeup like the Uncanny Brothers, and there's countless parodies and.
Oh my god, bro. Bro, I'm fucking not getting the freaking Jeepers Creepers paranoia, bro.
Cosplay videos on Bilibili. These makeup tutorials in particular I find pretty interesting. They all seem.
Oh my god. Oh my god. If someone ever pranked me like this, bro, you would be committing murder. You would actually be committing murder.
To have little short horror clips at the end. I almost wonder if this is a way for people to sneak horror content onto a Chinese social media platform without technically breaking the rules. The Uncanny Brothers is fairly silly and lighthearted, and most internet horror I can find on Bilibili seems to be like that, and a lot of it is also very over the top in a particularly Chinese way. I'm not sure if it's a cultural thing or if it's because of the government's censorship efforts, but in any event, the scariest online horror fiction you're gonna find in Bilibili are translations of Western content.
Damn, that's kind of crazy. I did not know China was protecting its people like that. Shit, man. W China, I guess.
That being said though, there are still dark and disturbing corners on Chinese social media. They just happen to revolve around things that are real. There's a group of Chinese internet mystery sleuths that have put together this huge and well-organized iceberg cataloging the unsettling things you can find on the Chinese internet.
Damn, bro, I can't even. I ain't gonna lie, man. This shit looks like some ancient Chinese language. Yeah.
Which has been invaluable for researching this video. It's also where I first came across our next topic. Before talking about it, we're gonna watch the whole video.
Bro, please tell me there's no jump scare, man. Please.
Video, we can see what appears to be a group of people slowly creeping along the side of a highway in the middle of the night. The group is in a single file line and only takes a step forward every second or so. Everybody is dressed eerily normal, as if they were plucked out of their regular lives and placed into this bizarre situation. On the iceberg, this incident is referred to as the highway corpse video, which may imply that these people are dead, and indeed, the description written by the original uploader says that this is a group of people on an expressway in Yangzhou pretending to be ghosts in the early morning.
Oh my god, that's crazy. That is a crazy thing to do on your free time.
This clip was originally put up on the platform Weibo, which we previously talked about. It's the Chinese version of Twitter and one of the most popular social media platforms in the country. While scrolling through the uploader's profile to learn more information, I realized that this is just a page dedicated to sharing interesting videos about cars and driving made by other users, which makes me think that this isn't the original upload of this video. Searching for the description on Google yields
Oh my god, bro, can we? Dude, this guy yaps a lot, man. Oh my
no
god.
information gonna be useless for a Weibo account that posted the same clip a few days earlier, as well as a second video of the same phenomenon. Again, we see a group of people slowly sauntering down the side of a highway in the dark. This clip is both longer than the first one and brighter, seemingly taken along a much more well-lit stretch of road.
Hey, no one just pulled up on them and be like, yo, what are y'all doing?
It only highlights how strange this situation is. A completely normal-looking group of people appearing to be in some sort of trance, all of the really do.
Oh, what the fudge? Oh
These
my god.
videos. I mantra. Sorry guys, Editor Farrell here. I know I just said that these are two separate groups of people, but I'm not actually so sure anymore. Of course, at the very last minute, I noticed that there is somebody who could be in both videos. This person who has a shirt sticking out from under their sweater. They do appear to be in both videos, and I think it's possible some people standing around them might be in both videos as well, so I can't really say with 100% confidence anymore that these are in fact two separate groups of people depicted in both of these videos. I think this could be the same group of people at different points in the night, and they've had people change order, and maybe some
That's crazy, bro.
people just want. It was useless here, but Baidu did give me quite a bit of results. Basically, all of these are just re-uploads of the same two videos on different corners of the Chinese months after the two highway videos were taken, and it discusses factory workers that had to walk along a highway for 100 kilometers to get back to their hometown,
Damn.
supposedly due to strict COVID restrictions that prevented them from using any form of transportation. There's no video here, but this picture does look eerily similar to the two highway videos. The reverse image search also led me to this group of pictures on Douyin, which are documenting the same group of factory workers walking to their home villages, through muddy terrain, wet fields, under fences, and also along the side of a highway.
Damn, that's unfortunate.
Picture 21 of this slideshow looks very similar to the highway corpse videos. I think this factory worker theory is a plausible one, except for one thing: the sound in these videos. The people in these clips are marching in time to some weird cadence call. It doesn't make sense that a group of workers who are just trying to get home would be marching in time to an eerie chant like this. But there is a second explanation to this whole thing that does take that little detail into account.
Oh my god. Freaking getting goosebumps, bro. Getting goosebumps too.
As intriguing as it may be to think that there's some supernatural or nefarious explanation to the highway corpse video, one commenter on the Weibo re-upload seems to have a more realistic theory. They say that this is likely a group of people practicing Theravada Buddhism, which is the oldest branch of the religion. The people that adhere to these beliefs sometimes practice something called walking meditation, which involves a very slow and deliberate pace of marching while chanting either the Buddha's name or some other mantra. It's fairly possible these two groups of people were doing some weird group walking meditation. Maybe they didn't start out at night or on the highway, but
Damn, bro, I'm not gonna lie. I was expecting something crazy.
a few of it.
But
Up a lot of the eeriness surrounding them. This next video though, I don't think it's going to be quite that simple. I'm going to warn you, the following topic is definitely one of the more disturbing things I've covered on this channel. If you have a weak stomach or are sensitive to real life atrocities, you may want to hit the right key on your keyboard or tap the right side of your screen until you see my face pop up again. That's how you'll know this section is done.
wait. Does reacting to this get me in trouble with YouTube? You gonna show gore?
Alright. Learning about abandoned buildings. Places that once served a purpose but now stand still, lifeless, and slowly rotting away. Exploring such places is always a thrilling experience. You get the feeling that you're doing something wrong. You're trespassing.
Yes, I've been there, done that. Yes, it is right. The feeling is kind of fun, especially with a group of friends.
Passing onto a space that was never intended for you. But at the same time, there's nobody to stop you from being in a place that's been cast away by everybody that once owned or occupied it. This also creates a feeling of lawlessness, like you're exiting polite and orderly society when stepping foot onto one of these properties. And who knows who or what you might come across.
Bro, TBT, bro. I did this. I had a group of friends. We did it with like a abandoned prison, or not prison, like jail. I think it was like a woman's jail. Bro, the number of other people that also pulled up to do that same thing, bro. It was like we were running. It was like a war zone game, bro. We were running squads. Everyone on edge about everyone else. Like, damn.
One such explorer of abandoned places is known on Douyin as Dubao Tanshin, or in English, Beanbag Adventure.
That's funny.
His profile is dedicated to recording his experiences exploring abandoned factories and apartment buildings in China and elsewhere in Eastern
Bro, people who do this by themselves, crazy, by the way. Crazy.
Asia. At one point, his profile was deleted following a set of videos he uploaded that caused a major stir on the Chinese internet. He did eventually get his account reinstated, but without the series of videos that resulted in the deletion. What exactly were in these videos that caused such a big controversy? Luckily, they've all been archived, and we're about to go through them. The first video starts with Dubao explaining to us that he's currently in an underground laboratory, and that he's going to show us something in this vat that only people with a strong stomach should look at. And he's not joking about that. What Dubao Tanshin is going to show us is probably the worst thing you could imagine. Obviously, I'm not going to show you this on YouTube, but inside this vat is what our cameraman calls movie props floating in a pool of dank standing water. Props or not, whatever we're looking at resembles the decayed bodies of many children.
Damn.
Again, Dubao goes on about how these are just movie props, but then he also says that this video will be censored, we all understand why. And pay attention to the details, I'm not gonna say much, which may imply he's only saying these are props so his video doesn't get taken down.
Yeah.
After showing us this
Makes sense, smart guy, smart guy.
horrifying scene, he immediately begins gagging. This could also be just because the place smelled horrible, even if the bodies weren't real, but we can't say for sure. This video
Well, like if you think about why would he put the props there?
is incredibly disturbing, but in February 2022 when it was uploaded, it didn't really create that much of a stir on the Chinese internet. But that would change at the end of 2022 when Dubao Tanshin would return to the building for a second exploration. While the first video followed the format of other Douyin videos with obnoxious music and editing, this one's a lot more toned down and barely has any editing at all, which makes it feel like a more legitimate exploration. It starts with Dubao showing us the path that leads to the vat, which is in a claustrophobic concrete tunnel complete with a layer of stagnant standing water in the ground. He comes across what appears to be children's clothes on the floor in several places, and of course, he then shows us the vat. You might be wondering why it was this video in particular that caused a stir online and not really the last one. You see, when the last video was uploaded, many people thought it was fake and that the bodies really were just props of some kind.
I see.
But in Dubao's second video, we can see the same bodies, but in a much further state of decay. Sure, somebody could have went to a lot of effort to make fake bodies in various states of decay for a Douyin account with a small audience, but according to Occam's Razor, these bodies are likely real. In his next video,
Damn, he didn't call the police, bro. He was like, "Yo, by the way."
Dubao starts by showing us the exterior of the building that's hiding the underground lab. It appears to be long abandoned and slowly being reclaimed by nature.
余年的老医院，楼的外墙风格应该是6-7。
Guys,
We eventually walk in the front door, and the above ground floors of this building appear to be just as decrepit as the basement.
bro, I swear, it feels like something's gonna pop out of me at any given point in this
He
video.
shows us what's on the floor, which appears to be mostly garbage, but also the occasional set of bones. That's about all we see in this video. We don't actually revisit the vat
Damn, he really grabbed that. Ugh.
underground. In the final video, we return to the underground area for a disturbing new revelation to cap off this horrible saga. Dubao does more of the same and shows us things he's finding on the ground, which occasionally includes what seems to be human bones. But then he finds something much more disturbing. He finds a stick of incense that looks like it was recently burned.
Yo, this guy need to have a gun, bro.
Meaning that somebody else has been in this lab very recently. Incense in Chinese culture can mean many things. Like in many other societies, it's often used in religious ceremonies in China. And indeed, the Hong Kong-based YouTuber Mill Milk also seems to think that this particular usage of incense signified some sort of religious worship. This is basically all the information about this particular location we would get from Dubao Tanshin. Shortly after these videos became somewhat of a controversy in the Chinese internet, his Douyin account would mysteriously vanish, only for it to come back a few months later, this time without the videos from the underground lab. He would never again talk about the situation. This is definitely one of the craziest situations to come out of the internet, and the investigation into this strange lab and the horrors it contained went global. Redditors had all sorts of theories. Maybe this was the remnant bodies from some Chinese organ harvesting operation, or maybe this was a dumping ground for a Chinese serial killer. On the Chinese internet,
Either one, very scary.
though, people had a slightly different theory. On Tiebe, the closest thing to Reddit in China, people are talking about plasticizer factories, which is something you might not be familiar with here in the West, but don't worry, we're gonna go over it in a second. Obviously, Chinese people are gonna have a better sense of context for a mystery that's happening in their own backyard.
Yeah, for sure.
There is one Redditor that's probably done more research into this situation.
It's because this place is a warehouse, so he plasticized the fact plasticizing is not only Hagens, and it was not allowed to engage in children's plasticizing back then, so I left it alone. Later, I found
Than anybody else has, and their thoughts are fairly in line with the conclusions Chinese internet sleuths were coming up with as well.
Bro, fucking making Shang-Chi. What is it? Fucking Shang-Chi's the zombie shit you see in mangas, bro.
Here's their theory. In the 1990s, a German scientist known as Günther von
I know, wait, bro. This guy literally looks like a monster, bro.
Hagens was looking for a way to better preserve human remains. Through his research, he developed a technique called plastination. This involves removing the water and fat in a corpse and replacing them with different kinds of plastics, which yields a body that doesn't decay or smell. Plastination would go on to revolutionize anatomical models for medical education, giving schools the ability to keep a single cadaver to study for basically an unlimited period of time.
Damn, that's OP.
Hagens had bigger plans though. He would eventually go on to organize a very famous series of public exhibitions around the world that you've likely heard of before, Body Worlds. These exhibits feature
I have never heard of this in my life.
real human remains posed in striking ways for people to ogle at. It's definitely a morbidly fascinating idea, but while Hagens and his team try to urge the public that all the bodies on display were people who had given their consent to have their corpses used in a for-profit museum, this wasn't always the case. And Body Worlds has endured many controversies over the years about their possibly unethically sourced cadavers, usually from places with looser human rights records, like Russia, Kyrgyzstan,
Damn, bro. They just be grabbing bodies out the wazoo.
or China. The underground lab for Dubao's videos is allegedly somewhere in the Jilin province of China. Just a few kilometers south of here, in the city of Dalian in the 1990s, Günther von Hagens would have a chance meeting with Bo Jilai, the mayor of Dalian. Günther had been working as a professor in the Dalian University, and he had also opened up his second plastination factory in the city as well. You see, Body Worlds is a huge company. By 2006, Hagens had made around $200 million in the business. This was a huge opportunity for people who had access to corpses, like
Freaking shivers, bro.
Bo Jilai. It's widely believed that Bo Jilai was allegedly supplying Günther von Hagens with the bodies of executive Falun Gong practitioners, a religious organization that was being heavily persecuted in China at the time. This is just an allegation without any substantiated proof, but what is proven is that Hagens' plastination factory in Dalian had been processing bodies they were receiving from unknown sources. A lot of pressure would eventually mount on Hagens for this practice, to the degree where he stopped working with human corpses altogether in China, instead focusing his efforts in the country on animal cadavers. But Gunter's legacy would
Let's
endure in the
go.
region, with several of his former employees going on to start their own businesses revolving around plastination, most of which are still operating in the area today. Many of these businesses operate with the same shady practices Hagen's company had in the past, and in China, they're known as corpse farms.
Jesus.
Both this Redditor and the users on Tieba seem to think that this underground lab is hiding the leftover remains of some corpse farm. The liquid the bodies are floating in doesn't actually appear to be water, but rather a solution called formalin, a chemical used in the plastination process. Several of the other things Dubal comes across in the lab also suggest that it's connected to a corpse farm as well, like preserved body parts in jars. The Redditor goes on to say that while corpse farming is an incredibly lucrative operation in China, demand likely greatly slowed during COVID, but the corpses likely came in at an even greater rate than usual, and as a result, some were likely placed in this formalin solution to either keep them for later, or to just dispose of in a way that won't attract maggots and bacteria and create stenches that would be hard to get rid of. In any event, these bodies seem to have been forgotten about. They'll never get a proper burial or funeral. They'll just lay there slowly fading away in a chemical solution in some underground bunker in the middle of China. Alright, that was a little heavier than the things we normally talk about on this channel. I hope our next topic will be somewhat of a palate cleanser. We're about to uncover something new in a 20-year-old internet mystery revolving around a video game that's been passed around both the Chinese and Western internet.
Dark Souls.
When it comes to first-person shooter games, I don't think any time period yielded as many formative masterpieces as the mid-2000s. Between 2004 and
Bro, flashbang me, bro. Shit.
2007, gamers will be blessed with revered classics like Half-Life 2, Halo 3, Star Wars Battlefront 2, Counter-Strike Source, Call of Duty Modern Warfare, BioShock, Team Fortress 2. I could keep going on forever, but
Yo, for real, bro. We was actually blessed during this time period, bro. Now the games are so boring, bro.
the point is, this was a truly magical time for first-person shooter games. Many of these titles were not just good, they were innovative and would greatly influence the future direction of the genre. There's a reason why there's such a large difference between 1999's Perfect Dark and 2010's Call of Duty Black Ops. In the same way, there was a major difference between pop music bands at the beginning of the 1960s and the end of the 1960s. First-person shooters just had a puberty-level growth period in the mid-2000s. There is one game though that released during this formative time that is just as good as the others on this list, but seems to be much more under the radar for whatever reason.
Oh, do tell, what is the game? Tell me.
One that was truly innovative and ahead of its time, yet it's never had a modern port beyond a minor PC redistribution in the original game. 2005's Fear.
Oh my god, bro. Dude, I used to hear so much stuff about this fucking game, bro. Like, this was probably like, in terms of horror, this is probably one of the scariest games ever.
To say Fear was ahead of its time is an understatement. It's a game that still feels innovative even 20 years later. The story revolves around a military group that's tasked with investigating supernatural phenomena. The game is heavily inspired by Japanese horror, which was also experiencing a heyday in the mid-2000s. The graphics are cutting edge and more resembles games released in the early 2010s despite being made in 2005. The physics were also quite ahead of their time, with enemies ragdolling around upon being shot. Speaking of enemies, the enemy AI is probably what Fear is most well known for. In most games, foes will just more or less try to shoot you, but in Fear, the enemy AI can work as a group and plan tactically how to best prevent you from finishing the level. They can coordinate with one another to lay down suppressive fire to keep you in a corner, while another enemy flanks you from the side. If you're advancing too much, they'll fall back and take a deeper position. If you manage to flank them while they're in their cover, they'll scatter and find cover elsewhere. This system was incredibly ahead of its time in 2005, and honestly, games don't have AI this good even 20 years later. It's not so much a technical achievement as it was the amount of work and dedication the developers poured into making the best enemy AI system possible. I could gush about this game forever, but this section actually revolves around something that's inside of Fear, specifically in the end credits. When you beat the game, before the credits roll, you're shown the following line of text.
What was that sound?
This line of text occupies your screen for a good 5 seconds before anyone else is given credit. You would expect this person to be someone who is important to the development of the game, or maybe the loved one of that person. In any event, I'm sure the developers behind Fear have clarified at some point just who their game is dedicated to, right? Well, no. Wenqi Li has never been identified. As far back as 2005, people on the internet have been speculating just who Wenqi Li might be. Maybe they were a developer that died during the making of the game, but their only credit in the project is the dedication. There is one theory floating around posted by various Chinese social media users talking about how Li Wenqi, which is Wenqi Li Mandarin, was actually an escaped hostage that was being held in some secret laboratory that was experimenting on women to speed up the pregnancy process so China could create child soldiers. I did a bunch of research
What the hell?
on both the Western and Chinese internet, and I couldn't find any evidence of this, so I'm just gonna guess that this was made up. The two theories I've seen online as to who Wenqi Li is are as follows. The first one is that this is a fake dedication written to cause a stir among gamers, and possibly create a buzz surrounding the game. I don't think this is the case. 2005 was a very different time. People weren't nearly as chronically online as they are now, and these sorts of mysteries just didn't really matter as much back then. Having a fake dedication at the end of a game in 2005 wasn't gonna do anything for the marketing of Fear, and I mean it didn't. This series of games almost lost to time, and it's long overdue for a remaster on modern consoles that's probably never gonna materialize despite how great the first game is. The second theory is that Wenqi Li is a loved one of a dev that passed away. This makes much more sense, but again, there hasn't been any clarification from the devs themselves, so it's just a theory. Or
Not just a theory, a game theory.
maybe it's something more.
One of our beloved artist Steve Lee died during development of Fear.
On July 19th, 2024, a random Steam user would comment on a 10-year-old Steam community post talking about the legend of Wenqi Li, saying that Wenqi Li was the father of one of the artists working on Fear, and that he died during the development of the game. This Steam user is from Russia, and I kind of don't think they were actually working on Fear, but Steve Lee definitely was. He was a senior artist working on the game, and in fact, his name shows up almost immediately after the dedication in the end credits. Despite how common of a last name Lee is, I don't think it's a coincidence that one of the most important people working on the game happens to share a surname with the person the game is dedicated to. What throws a cog in this investigation is that the Steve Lee credited in Fear doesn't seem to have any online presence, at least not one that I can find. There is another Steve Lee that is a level designer and even
That is probably not him, bro.
has a YouTube channel, but this is a different Steve Lee that just so happens to be also working in game development. They have different Moby Game pages, and our Steve Lee is an artist who began working well before the level designer Steve Lee. The last project listed on our Steve's Moby Games page is Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor in 2014, and that wasn't even really a credit, it was just a special thanks. There's a LinkedIn listed at the bottom of the page, but it's a dead link that hasn't been archived anywhere. It would appear that Steve Lee retired at some point and just isn't online, which makes it much harder to track him down. I do think that Wenqi Li was a relative of Steve Lee. It's a little frustrating to be so close to solving this mystery and having to stop mere inches from the finish line, but hey, that's life. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you're still watching at the end, that means you either left it on and weren't paying attention, or you just genuinely liked it, in which case you should definitely subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm that you like.
Yeah, honestly, the video, okay. The thumbnail though, and that other creepy shit that happened at the beginning,